Good morning. Good morning. So lovely to be here. That song was just amazing. I was watching all of you, and some of you started off, I believe it. But you ended off, I believe it. But it just really lifted the energy in the room. So thank you. I haven't got anything planned. I always do these addresses. I'm not a planner. In no part of my life do I plan very well. I'm terrible. I just speak. I just open my mouth. For those of you who know me, I use the term verbal vomit. I just open my mouth and it just comes out, okay? I've got my protection. I've got my spirit guides with me. A lot of what I'm going to say today is very connected to everything that Kevin has already spoken about. So I'm just going to sort of elaborate a little bit on that. But the theme for me is not so much love, although love is the theme. Love is always the theme. Love is always the answer. Love is always everything. But I want to take it a step further, and I want to bring in the word control. Because control is something that us human beings really struggle with. And I say that because we all want it. We all try to control everything in our lives, including love. We don't love openly and freely, do we? You know, our love is very conditional, it's very controlled. The way we feel is very controlled. The way we react, respond, behave, everything that we do in life is very controlled. If we take love away from it, and let's think for a minute about our careers, we try and control every aspect of what we do, of how we do it. We're so living in the future, like I have this goal, I have this dream, I have a dream. I have all of these things that I want to achieve. But in order to do it, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. We don't actually live. We wake up every day with a plan, with a strategy, with a diary full of stuff to do. And even today, like a Sunday, where we shouldn't be working, we should just be going with the flow. We should be living in the now, but we're not. Our days are controlled. So yes, coming here today was a controlled event. You chose to be here. There were things you had to do to get here on time, etc. But how much of the rest of your day is controlled? How many of you have got plans? How many of you have got things that you need to do, want to do, even if it's just here in the back of our mind? But everything that we do in our lives at the moment is very much controlled. You look at your relationships that you have with the people who are important and significant in your life. Your partners, your family, your children, your parents, your work colleagues. Everything in that situation is very controlled. Now, I get that sometimes we need control. Sometimes we need to have rules and strategy and structure. I understand that. But we also need equal amounts of freedom, equal amounts of no control, of just going with the flow, trusting that everything's going to be okay, and most importantly, being in love with that moment, with the people who are around you in that moment, and just being you without attachment to outcome, to opinions, to what other people think is right or wrong, because other people's opinion doesn't really matter. Now, I know that's a big statement. That's a really big statement, because we're always concerned about other people's opinions, about us, about what we do, how we do it, etc. And yes, we do need to take care of and think about and be considerate of other people. But we as human beings, we need to pull back on control and be a little bit more free to just be in the now, to be in the moment, and to live the life that we should be living. I'm the kind of person who is very spontaneous. I wake up in the morning and I have an idea and I go with it. Okay? Case in point, this last week, I don't know how many of you in my little Facebook group, and I did a healing in that group. And it wasn't planned, it was just I needed to do for a client, and I thought, well, hold a second, other people can need this too. So I invited everybody in. And I ended up having over 80 people that participated. And out of those 80 people, I think at least 60 of them had a positive experience. They didn't know it was going to happen. It was a spur of the moment thing. It was in the now, and there was no control on my part either. All I did was make an offer and do the work. Allowed myself to be out of control in that moment to allow the healing to take place, and it worked. I didn't know I was going to do that in the morning. It wasn't part of my plan. It wasn't part of my control. But I opened up, released, allowed, and miracles happened. So the message for you today is miracles happen when you give up control. We're all got challenges in our lives. We've all got problems in our lives, whether it be emotional, financial, career, family, whatever. We've all got them. They're not going to go away. And when one problem goes away, I can promise you another one will come in its place. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to control our situations to stop more problems from coming in. But by holding on, by trying to control, we're creating more drama. We're creating more problems for ourselves. So we need to understand that there are times where control is very important and very significant and very needed. But there are also times where we just need to love unconditionally, without restraint, and just let go of control. I want you to think about a person in your life right now who you absolutely love with all your heart. Somebody who means the absolute world to you. And ask yourself, when last have you just gone up to them, threw your arms around them, and just smothered them in love? Because you felt like it in that moment. We don't do that, even with your romantic partners. We don't do that because there's so many consequences. Like, what are they going to think? And are the kids around? And am I in the middle of a shopping center? It's not appropriate. We need to learn to let go of control and to love openly. I'm not encouraging anybody to have raucous sex on the streets. Okay? That's not what Spirit are encouraging. But at the same time, let's be open. Let's be love. Let's let go of control of who we are and of what other people expect of us. People have crazy expectations of each one of us. But those aren't your expectations. That's not what you've put on yourself. That's what everybody else is putting on you. Do you understand that? Does that make sense? It's hard, I can tell you that much, because we're so used to being in a state of control. We're so used to being so mindful of what we do, when we do, how we do. We live our lives by a watch. I sat here just this morning, just before we started, saying to Kevin, please watch the time and tell me when I'm running out of time. It's that whole, we're so conditioned and so programmed. Says he looking at his watch.
He's still good.
I'm still good. But we are so conditioned and so programmed to run our lives by control. And we need to let go a little bit. How many of you, or when last have any of you had a cry where you just let it go and released? We don't. We start crying and we immediately start apologizing. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And we wipe away our tears. We don't let go. Everything is so controlled, even our emotions, our actions, our emotions, everything, even our finances, very controlled. And I know we need to. There's certain aspects of it. But the message today is love has no control. Love has no boundaries. It has no limits. It has no restrictions. If you open your heart up to love openly, honestly, truthfully, can you imagine how wonderful this world would be? Just imagine how different everything would be. We wouldn't have road rage. Right? Do you know why we have so much reaction in the car? Because we feel protected by this boundary around us. Psychologically, we feel safe. So we feel like we can say stuff, do stuff. I'm being polite, okay? We feel like we can. We feel like it's a safe place because we have this protection. And also because we feel like we can accelerate and drive away, should we need to. We feel like we're in control. But actually, we should learn to love. When somebody does something terrible to you in traffic, my favorite thing to do is to smile and wave. They don't know how to react to that because they're expecting a handful of stuff coming up at them. And my hand's the other way and I'm going, hi! And they don't know how to react. And what I'm doing is I'm loving. I'm saying, I see you. I acknowledge that you didn't do good. But you know what? I love you anyway. And that is how we change this world that we live in. That is how we change the essence of the drama and the chaos and the control that is restricting us and holding us back. I want a show of hands. How many of you are living your ideal life today? I'll be the only one to put my hand up. Okay, we have a couple of hands coming up. I'm so glad. You know what? I tell everybody I live the best life. I have everything I want and so much more. I work hard, but I play just as hard. I clear space in my diary every single week to play. Play is important. My play changes all the time. Sometimes my play is technology, sometimes my play is outside, sometimes my play is with friends. It changes all the time. But I make time to be. Sometimes I'm lying on the bed reading a book because that's what I need in that moment. It changes. Sometimes I'm eating a big piece of cake because I like cake. I don't limit myself. You can see that. I don't limit myself. I live my life without control, with freedom, with love. Love of myself and love of the people around me. Because it is the most important thing. Nothing else matters. Money doesn't matter. We need money, sure. We need it. But when you make that your idol, when you make that your king, your queen, your most important thing, suddenly you're in that control lane again. You're not living freely. And you're not doing what makes your heart and soul happy. And when you are resisting happiness, you are resisting money. So if you've got struggles, financial struggles in your life, ask yourself, what happiness are you resisting in your own life? It's a big concept. It's a big concept. And I'm going to leave it there for today, because I think the messages that are going to come through just now, the individual messages, are going to drive the rest of the message home. Thanks, friends. Lots of love and blessings.